Post-hypnotic suggestions are, in effect, delayed action suggestions. They are the operating of hypnotic suggestions at a later date. For example, whilst a subject is hypnotized, suggestions may be made that when he is awakened, he will perform some action at a given cue. The appointed time arrives, and the subject, in a waking state and apparently fully possessed of his faculties, will carry out the appointed task. These suggestions need not be directed to the performance of a specific task, but to an attitude of mind. It may, for example, be suggested that the individual's attitude towards some fear will undergo a modification or change, and this, if there is no stronger counter-influence, will be so. Post-hypnotic suggestions, however, grow weaker with the passing of time. Therefore, they should be aimed at creating habits which enable the subject to adapt himself more satisfactorily to life. In this case, they have every chance of being adopted in place of the previous faulty behavior patterns. It is apparent that the mere repetition of general phrases such as "you are feeling better," etc., have not the same value as suggestions which are being patiently and carefully prepared. Often, to prepare these suggestions, considerable time must be spent investigating the subject's symptoms and complaints, history, medical record, present environment with immediate obstacles and limitations, together with his whole attitude towards life. The suggestions which are made to a patient for such he is if he is asking for assistance may not only be things which he desires, but also those things which are capable of practical fulfillment. Otherwise, his condition will in no way be improved. It might be added in the framing of post-hypnotic suggestions, definite instructions should be avoided which would directly alter the patient's life. That is to say, he should never be instructed to make a choice or a decision, i.e. change his employment, to marry, or to break off an association. A hypnotherapist who is consulted for aid is a technician being asked to make an adjustment in the mental and emotional life of the patient, so that the patient himself shall be able to live his own life confidently and with full volition and control, and to make his own decisions. When a patient is being given palliative suggestions to allay anxiety, post-hypnotic suggestions are made in the following manner. In a few minutes, I'm going to wake you up, and when you awake, you will find that a change has occurred. You will feel relieved, and all traces of anxiety will have left you, and you will feel completely relaxed. This should be amplified at length on the lines of lessened tensions and of physical and mental relaxation. The self-esteem and well-being of the subject must continually be kept in mind, and his confidence in and assurance of the sympathetic attitude of the hypnotist must be maintained, otherwise suggestions made to him will have little real value. It is difficult to lay down hard and fast rules for administering hypnotic suggestions, as there are so many variable factors, the chief of which is the unconscious attitude of the patient. If, for example, purposes the hypnotist at any time tries out any experiments, he should see that there is no possibility of the subject acting out the post-hypnotic suggestion at a later date when he accidentally encounters the same cue. As, for example, if the subject were told that when he saw a glass of water, he would feel very hot, and the hypnotist forgets to remove this suggestion at the conclusion of the session, the subject might, some days later, be disturbed by a reoccurrence of the symptoms of increased temperature induced by the sight of a glass of water. The hypnotist, therefore, having made any post-hypnotic suggestions, should, as a routine, take pains to cancel out all suggestions which are not designed for the well-being of the subject. It is wise to inform the subject later of the nature of suggestions which have been made to him whilst hypnotized. He may or may not remember them. If a deep state has been induced, there may be amnesia, but this state is subject to change, and he may later record the suggestions. If, in these circumstances, he has not been fully informed by the hypnotist, the latter is likely to lose the subject's confidence. The object of the hypnotist is to gain the full and complete confidence of his subject. The suggestions made in the hypnotic state should be explained so the subject when he is awake, so that intellectually he is fully aware of the procedure of treatment. Consciously and subconsciously, his motives are directed to and should be working together for the same ends. In post-hypnotic suggestions, if post-hypnotic suggestions are made which would create resistance on the part of the individual, he will become uneasy and make efforts to combat the impulse to perform any unwelcome suggestions. This tension and anxiety is, however, immediately resolved if the post-hypnotic suggestion is carried out. If the subject who has carried out a post-hypnotic suggestion is questioned as to why he has carried out that particular act, he will usually rationalize his action and find the most ingenious explanations and excuses. The effective duration of the post-hypnotic suggestion is to a very large extent determined by how it fits in with the character structure, tendencies and habits of the individual, or how far it is in his interest. If post-hypnotic suggestions are in any way damaging to or derogatory to his sense of self-esteem, they will tend to fade more rapidly than suggestions which would give pleasure or be profitable. Post-hypnotic suggestions may or may not be recognized as such by the subject. He may, for example, impelled by a post-hypnotic suggestion, have no idea why he has to rise and alter the hands of a clock, or to rearrange the furniture. On the other hand, he may have a dim idea that he should do this, or even that it has been suggested to him during the hypnotic trance. In other words, post-hypnotic suggestions, like other hypnotic phenomena, produce varying reactions with different individuals.